Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Calyxx and Crew podcast. I'm your host, as always, Doc Calyxx. We got a very special episode for you today. It's going to be a really, really cool one. I got my homie, OKCalyxx from OKCalyxx Genetics over here. Huge mind in composting, but we'll get onto that in a later episode. This episode, we're going to have OKCalyxx on. He's going to be reviewing the Pelle Polare, their brand new book on hash making. He's going to be talking about some of his new genetics as well. Before we get started though, I want to give a huge shout out to Diamond Cut Company, some of the best trimming scissors in the business. If you guys want to check some out for yourself, go over to diamondcutco.com or find them on Instagram. Use coupon code DOC minus 10% for a 10% discount on some of the best trimming scissors around. Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It really, really helps us out, no matter whether you're listening on YouTube, if you're listening on Deezer, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, does not matter. Please leave us a review. It really helps out the show. And go check out the Calyxx and Crew podcast Discord. The link is in my bio. You can find it at Calyxx_Crew_podcast on IG, or you can find me at Doc_Calyxx on Instagram. There's a link in both the bios that'll guide you anywhere you need to every one of our social media platforms, our Patreon, our Discord, and all the goodies. Tons of extras over there. Giveaways every single month, Q&As, games, seed giveaways. Ton of fun over there. It's always popping, always popping. Shout out to all my guys that are promoting me, that are helping me out over there and supporting me. Appreciate every single one of you. Now, before we get too long and drawn out, let's hop into this episode. We are on the line with my good friend, OKCalyxx Genetics. OKCalyxx, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, guys. How are y'all?
Good, good. It's good to hear from you. I'm glad that we're finally getting this podcast in. I've been meaning to have you on for a minute now. Today, we are going to be talking about hash making. We're going to be talking about the Pelle Polare Ice Cold H2O Trichome Isolation book, as well as some of your genetics, which I'm really stoked to hear what you're doing. So this hash, a lot of people know you for your composting, and I've seen you do a lot of content when it comes to composting. I feel like that's people wanting me to talk about KNF, and I don't always want to talk about KNF. And I know that you have another love, and that's hash, correct? You make some fire hash. We absolutely loved it. And we're going to kind of get back into those genetics later on in this episode. But first, I want to hear about what you took away from this book. You're a guy that I look forward to hearing from when I need tips and advice on hash making. What did you get from this that helped you out?
Well, the book was very good, no doubt about it. It's a collaborative piece. A lot of different hash makers that a lot of you guys know, and everybody contributed a small piece. They gave a lot of information from their experience and from the art that they perform, So it's really good. Lots of gold nuggets to take away. One thing, good Doc, you and I have the same washer.
We have the same washer? I don't have a washer.
We have the same press. Sorry, that's right. The same press.
Yeah, we do have the same press, yeah. And I love that. I love that thing.
That's a good press. I got a washer. And after I read this book, I'm like, I wish I didn't buy the washer, but it's a bottom agitating washer, the typical kind that you see everybody using. Home growers using these little washing machines. But the agitation on the bottom, is talked about so negatively throughout this book. And I'm just like, oh, gosh. So now I'm going to be like, I got to find some hand washing equipment. But the reason I'm saying that is because he gave a nice little, somebody, I can't remember who, but one of the writers gave a nice little nugget saying, hand wash, put all your bud in your trim bag and give it a hand wash. Do that for 2-3 minutes, whatever. And then put the washed bud into the washer. And that is just a good kind of give and take. And I was kind of like, yeah, that's great. Because really, I don't hand wash. I just use my washing machine that I have, and I really try to filter it and clean it and all that stuff as I'm going. But I think I'm going to start trying to hand wash a little bit. Probably the first round, just hand wash real good, and then I'm going to use my washer after that. That's a good nugget.
See, and I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I've always hand washed, and I've never used one of the machines. I was looking forward to it because I thought it would cut out some of the manual labor, and now you gave me some information earlier. I'm like, God damn it.
No.
Back to the hard work.
Yep,
But the hard work usually pays off the best, right?
exactly. Throughout the book, they're always saying hand washing is the best.
So the biggest problem with this motor on the bottom of the machine, what is it?
So the problem with the bottom agitation is that, the trichomes will sink to the bottom. And with hand washing, you have, a little false bottom down there where all your trichome can settle. And you're not stirring it a lot, as you're washing it. It should be able to settle more in those bigger buckets. With the bottom agitation, all you're doing is cycling the bits and pieces back, into the water along with the trichome, and they're just getting bashed down there, just getting hammered as you're spinning it. And it just leads to it leads to a little lesser quality product. Now, as a home grower, I'm not going to fuss and complain about the rosin I've made. I liked it, but we can clean it up a little bit by not using that bottom agitation on my first wash. Really trying to get a good load of trichome heads off by hand washing and then move to the washer. But that bottom agitation just constantly is bashing those trichomes because they sink to the bottom. That's the problem.
So this washer is forcing all those trichomes. That motion's kind of forcing it back up into the material. And not only that, it's beating it around.
That's right. So that the bottom, if you fit some washing machines, like clothing washing machines, if you look at the bottom, it turns back and forth. And that's what my washing machine does also. It spins one way and then stops, spins the other way and then stops. But yes, as it's spinning, it is, well, let me back up. If you're not using a trim bag and you just throw all your flour into the washing machine, which is what I do, it's really not good, especially just because you're getting all kinds of bits and pieces and particles and all that good stuff. Even though the bud does float in the water, you're still getting little pieces stirred up with that bottom agitation, and those little bits and pieces are hitting those trichomes and either sticking them together or sticking to the trichome itself, and then you have contamination. So if someone can invent one of those washing machines with the turner, with the agitation on the top, you might make some money.
There's $1 million idea right there, and you just gave it to him.
That's right, because he even says in the book, there's nothing on the market.
Yeah. So, okay, that's where you start branding this stuff. Come on, you're handy.
I hear you. I got too many kids.
Yeah, no, I hear you. All right. So we've got this washer problem. You're saying manual is a way better way to do it. Let's get into the bags. I've seen people not using a work bag at all. And I believe you say use the work bag, right? And not only that, you also have your collection bags. And I've seen quite a few people remove certain bags that they didn't want. Is there any benefits to this? What do you do?
What I have done before, and like I said, after I read this book, and I went to a 918 OG hash class a couple months ago, and it was just great information. So I haven't washed since that class and this book. So when I say I used to do it this way, it's because I plan on doing it a new way. But I did not use a trim bag or anything. I just put the bud in the water, let it rehydrate, and then wash it that way. I didn't use the trim bag. And the reason I did use a trim bag is because first couple washes, I used a trim bag, before you put, it's that big kind of, I think it's a 220. You put all your bud in it, and then you stick that whole bag into the washer, and it just washes in the bag. And so all your weed is kept in that bag.
Right.
However, it gets clogged quickly. It gets clogged with just the resin and the trichome hitting that thing. And when I did a wash without it, I had a much bigger return. And I mean, so much greater return that I'm like, I'm never using that bag again. And I hadn't since. But hand washing with that bag to get a real superior product, that's how you have to do it. And then I would take everything out of that bag and put it in my washer and do it the way I used to. But if you want higher quality, you need to use your trim bag.
Okay. So it's not so much that it's not letting good trichome heads through, but it's also taking out a lot of contaminants.
Yeah, it does definitely do that. It definitely holds a lot of contaminant, but it clogs and it holds trichome in too. So, you got to play with your equipment, see what you want.
Yeah.
What you want to do. And now you asked about the collection bags, the micron bags. In the book, he suggests that you use a full 8 bag set. And that would be the 220 bag, and then the 190, the 160, the 120, the 90, the 73, the 45, and the 25. And if you're going to begin to wash, if you have the money, you might not. But if you can get the whole 8-bag set, you will start to learn which micron bags catch the most, and which is your good quality and which is your low quality. Now, my advice is if you don't have the money to buy all 8 bags, because they're not cheap, and they do break and you need to get new ones sometimes, but what you want to do, here's what I have. I have I'll start with the lower number, because that's the one you stick in the container first. That's like, if you think of a 5-gallon bucket, I'm going to put one of my micron bags in first, and it's going to be that 25 micron. Inside of my 25 micron, I'm going to stick my 73 micron, and then I'm going to stick inside 73 my 120, and then my 160, and the 220 is the last one. The highest quality bags are going to be your 120, your 90, and your 73. That's going to be your best catch of heads. They're going to fit right there, and you're going to be able to wash some debris through and all that good stuff. So 120, 90, and 73, you want those bags for sure. If you can't afford any other ones, definitely get those 3, because that's what catches your good stuff. And then, of course, the 45 and the 25 become lower quality as you go down. It just starts to catch a lot of the bits and pieces. Now, I will melt that down and still use it myself for medicine, the 25 and the 45. It's still going to work. It just has more contamination in it, and it will be almost a greenish color sometimes, and that's your contamination. You do not want to use the 220. You're going to throw that out, throw that in your compost. And the 190 is rough also.
What is typically in those bags? Is it the stalks? Is it leaf matter, plant matter?
Okay, so whenever you're washing, let's see, like when I wash my bud in my washing machine, imagine, if you will, the washing machine, and I have all that bud in there, and it's been spinning and spinning, and I'm ready to drain it. And so I'll drain it down through all of those bags. And what you're catching is what has been washed off the plant. And if you got a bunch of dirt, you're going to get all the dirt too. And pesticide, anything like that, you're getting it. But hopefully you don't have that, and you have a lot of resin, a lot of trichome heads, and you'll have some of the stalk. We're talking, microscopic here. You gotta, need a jeweler's eye or something, but the stalk of a trichome head will be in those bags. But what you want is that head, that little circle around pretty thing that everybody looks at. You're trying to catch just those, So you don't have a lot of plant material. You're not going to have leaves or anything. You're just going to have little bits of broken leaves and, what's referred to as contamination. Because you don't want leaves. You just want that head.
Right. One thing that I wanted to ask you about is full spec. What do you need to match that description of full spec? Which one of these bags are we taking from, and what needs to be included in the final product?
All right. Let's see. Let me read you from the book on page 17 under the title Collection Bags. Another method of collection would be to mix all of the various bags together to make what is known as full spec. If electing to go the full spec route, it would be wise to remove all the bags and use only your high quality bags, your 120, your 90, your 73, maybe even your 45 and 25. But when you mix all of your bags, all of the product that you've collected in your bags, a lot of people want to keep the 73 by itself because they feel that's the best quality. And they won't mix it with the 90 or the 120 micron bag. They keep it all separate. But what the book is saying, if you want to do a full spec, you're going to mix your 120, your 90, your 73, your 45, your 25. You can mix it all together if you want, or you can just choose 3 bags to mix together, and you get this what's called the full spec.
Okay, so either way, nice. I was hoping it wasn't going to include that contamination bag that you were talking about with all the leaf matter and everything.
The 220? No. Yeah, let's make sure that everybody understands that one. Not those contaminations. The 220, the 190, the 160, those are going to be rough. Maybe 160, might keep it. I've kept it many times.
Have you ever smoked it?
Yes.
Yes. There's people going to you, but they've done it too.
Hey, man, I'm a home medicator, dude. You got to try your stuff. You got to try it. Yeah, I've thrown away lots of rosin, guys. Lots of rosin. It just like, I'm not smoking that. I messed that up bad.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't made enough to say that.
Actually, I just messed up a batch of one of my genetics, my TKLB. I'm just learning how to jar tech it because I learned it at 918 OG's class. He taught us how to, use heat and all this stuff because I've never done it. I've only cold cured. But my first jar tech, I definitely cooked it way too long and it went so dark. And it was fine though. I messed it up.
I have done that. And I have had success recently.
Ooh.
But the biggest thing is patience, and I definitely screwed up my first one. It turned into this decarbed black, almost clear crap.
Yeah, it is good and dark.
That's how we learn, though.
That's correct. You get to mess up, man. You need to mess up.
So we've learned about this manual washing versus the machine washing, and which one's better. We talked about collection bags and the use of the work bag. What's the next step after this? You've grabbed all your hash and everything. How are you going to dry it out?
This is the tough one. This is the step that if you're a home grower and you want to get into getting your own hash making and really trying to get quality, you're going to have to figure out ways to dry this stuff. And it's nice when you know guys, grows like I do, who have freezers and all that stuff, and I can take it up there when I want it frozen. I don't always want it frozen. Freeze dried. Sometimes I just like it room dried. I think that sometimes it has a better taste. Sometimes when it's freeze dried, it's hard to work with it a little bit. For me, it is, but I need more experience, of course. But for me, it's a little harder to work with when it's frozen. When it's been dried, like on cardboard in front of a fan in my shed, it tastes good. Here's how I do it. Whenever I've washed and I'm scraping all of that gooey goodness out of those micron bags. What I do as a home grower, and don't everybody freak out, but this is how it has to be done sometimes. I will get parchment paper and I'll spread it out as thin as I possibly can on parchment paper. And even you can even add a little bit of water and to even get it thinner. And thinking that's counterproductive because you're trying to get it dried out. But actually, if you can get the chunk thinner, if you're going to have blobby chunks and you need to get it nice and flat, and the thinner you can get it, you can spread it out over more surface area. You can get it to dry out faster. So a little water actually helps get it spread out. You put it like a parchment sheet or parchment paper inside a cookie sheet is a good way to do it. Put your hash or put all of your bubble hash that you've caught, add a little water, make sure it gets nice and thin, and then put a fan on it. Dries out fast. We're talking about.
How long are we talking about on a dry time? It's not like flour. The slower you go, the better it's going to be.
It just needs to dry out. I mean, from my experience, somebody else smarter than me might tell you something different, but I just need to get it dry. You definitely don't want water at all. You're going to run it. You start to learn that you had water in your hash, and it's like, oh, dang it, a little burny, nasty tasting. But anyway, put it on that parchment paper inside a cooking sheet. Add a little water, thin it out real well, spread it all over, get a lot of surface area covered, add a fan on it. And, and it needs to not be in a hot shed. It needs to be, if you can keep it, 60, 70, that'd be nice. Let it dry out. And then, again, my storage has changed big time.
Are you storing it in about the same conditions?
I never store it. Once it's dried, I immediately pressed it just because I didn't have ability to really store it real well. But after reading this book, actually, rosin storage, page 30, in the fabulous book called Ice Cold H2O Trichome Isolations by Pelle Polare, page 30. Here's some tips, guys. I'm telling you, this is just good stuff. Terpenes are easily lost. I'm reading from the book here. Terpenes are easily lost through temperature fluctuation. The key is to always keep the bubble hash, which is what we're scraping out of the bags, everybody. That's what we're talking about, bubble hash. Always keep the bubble hash in the freezer in a parchment-lined mason jar. Never compress your bubble hash at all. Treat the hash very gently. Don't pack your hash down in that jar. I used to do that. I used to, not as much as I could, but I packed it in because I didn't have enough jars maybe. But now it's like, oh yeah, keep this stuff fluffy. Keep it, put that parchment paper inside that mason jar, and get that top on it. Keep it cold. Take care of it like it's a dang newborn baby. because you're keeping all those terps in there. And of course, that's the ultimate thing. When we're dealing with hash, when we're dealing with rosin, we know the high is going to be there. It's going to be there, but we want that flavor pop. We want it to just be like, smack your lips, trying to run it through your nose again, taste it. Yeah. So we want to keep this stuff nice and cold, keep it, low temps. So go ahead.
Okay. What size portions would you put in what size jar?
I use, like half quart mason jars, the small ones, maybe, half pint jar, I think is what it is.
Okay.
But really, you don't want a lot of air. So I would go ahead and just kind of fill it up to the top, close it up. You don't want just a whole lot of air in there. The problem is you don't always have a lot of hash. If you can only fill your jar halfway up, cover it with parchment paper before you seal it. Cover it, put parchment paper down on the top of it a little bit, and then seal your jar. I mean, that's the best you can do. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I'm taking in a lot of this, man, because like I said, lately I've been growing some more hash-oriented cultivars. So even though I'm a heavy flower guy, I love bubble hash. I just hated doing the manual mixing of all of it, So I was looking forward to that machine. But if the quality's the best on the manual, I'll go back to it.
It's a lot of work. I'm not throwing my machine away. So you heard me say that. I'm still keeping it.
Right. It's still beneficial, especially for people like me that don't want to bend their back over stirring, for 3 minutes in segments. So let's go over some terms that you were talking about earlier when we were talking about you coming on the podcast and talking about hash. There was a few things that you said that I kind of wanted you to elaborate on. What is this greasing versus pre-greasing?
Oh, yeah. This is new to me, so let me start off with that. But it's just...
Oh, this is new to you. Okay.
Yeah, the words, the labeling of the action. You know what I'm saying? Like, I kind of did it, but I didn't know, we're going to grease or pre-grease, stuff like that. So it's fun to know those words. For me, I like it because it cleans it up, cleans conversation up quickly. Let me see, page 27.
Right.
So it's where the terms pre-greasing and greasing and stamping is also there. But pre-greasing, and that's greasing, like grease. And it's because you're going to get greasy. When you're smashing these heads, yeah, it's going to get greasy. You want some grease. Pre-greasing is when, let's see. Let me see if I can actually read it. As mentioned, let's see. Another technique is to pre-grease the hash and form hash pucks using a pre-press mold. So you guys know what I'm talking about. You have those press molds, circles or squares. You put your hash in there and you're just kind of compacting it down, trying to get it even. You don't want holes in your hash, in that little pucket. You want it nice and solid. You want it nice and flat on the top and bottom because you want surface area. You want it to be able to spread out nice and evenly. You know what I'm saying? When you pre-grease your bubble hash, you are just putting it into a mold form, not in a bag. And that's how I'm understanding pre-greasing. And I mean, I think a lot of people pre-grease. And then the other one called greasing is how I'm understanding it is when you put your bubble hash in the bag itself, and then you give it that good, nice smashing, and you try to even it out throughout the bag, get the corners filled up and all that stuff. That's called greasing your bag. So those are two fun terms. I had no idea, but those are terms I'm assuming good hash makers use. Because they talked about it. They use that, they use that in this book.
I'm not a good hash maker. I'm sitting here going, you do that? You spread it over the bottom of the bag?
Yes. So
I was like, scoop it up with a spoon.
When you got your bubble hash in your bags and you're going to put it in your press and smash it, you don't want one part thicker than the other part, and you don't want one corner skinnier than the middle. You know what I'm saying? You want it spread out. You want a nice even press. There's a style called bottle tech style, and it's where you take your rosin bag. Like when I press bubble hash into rosin, I use two 25 micron bags. I double bag it, right? 25 microns are very, very small, and so it really...
You have 5 kids. You do not double bag it.
No, I do not ever.
I had to. You led me into it, man. You led me into
it. Your wife is over there shaking her head.
No, I know.
Man.
She will be when she hears the podcast.
Exactly. Oh, man. So, yeah, if you don't double bag, you blow out everybody, and that's how you get 5 kids.
You did that? Of course I did. This is my show.
Oh, God. So I'm back to double bagging it. 25 micron.
I'm glad
bag,
I prompted you into
I've
that.
I've loaded my first bag full of bubble bags.
So you're double bagging it, but you're double bagging it with a
spread it
micron
out
bag.
real good. When I've got it in there, well, actually, hold on. We were talking about bottle tech. That's what we were talking about. I was going to somewhere else real quick. So bottle teching your rosin bag. Here's the idea, and you got to use your imagination with me. You're holding your small little 25 micron bag, and the opening is towards the top, right? The bottom corners, what you would do is you would take a pin or a dab tool and you invert the corner. So the corner isn't poking out, but it's now poking up and into the bag. You know what I'm saying? And you do that on both bottom corners. And, okay, so the idea is that is stopping the little bitty corner from not having anything in it.
Okay, I knew that, but why do you do that?
It'll catch your rosin. Like if you just left the bag unbottle teched, if you will, and you fill it up with rosin or flour, you're going to have the edges, the corners not full. And those little things are like pockets to catch all your rosin. You know what I'm saying? It won't catch all of it, but it will catch it. Yeah. So when you invert the corner, you have bubble hash consuming that inverted corner.
Right. They're pushing past then instead of filling it up. That makes a lot of sense.
And there's no hole there. That's the idea. It is. Stamping, I think, let's see. I'm going to read from the book again on page 27.
Gotcha. That's actually pretty damn smart. So what's this stamping that you were talking about? What does the book say?
The book says pre-pressing your filter bags once packed is not a bad idea either. This is stamping. You fill your bags, and then, like if you have a big square mold or a long rectangle mold that fits your bag or whatever form you're using, a circle even, pack your bags and then put them back in the mold, stamp it real good, get it all packed in, and then you're ready to put it in your press. That's stamping your bag. And I can tell you right now, Pelle Polare, if you're listening and I make any mistakes, I apologize. Please correct me. But that's how I'm understanding the book. You betcha. We mess up.
This is a show where we smoke a lot of cannabis, so mistakes are bound to happen. So when you're doing the stamping, there's no heat on the plates at all.
Yeah, that's correct. You're not doing anything with your plate. Your heating plates. You're only messing with a cold, probably aluminum or steel little piece.
Okay, so a pre-press mold like for flour would be the same thing. Gotcha.
That's it. Yeah, you could do the same thing. Exactly.
Okay, so I have one more question for you really quick before we go to break. Fresh frozen. What is the qualifying term for fresh frozen? We were talking about this in our Discord the other day. The guys were asking me, does this mean that it's taken down right away, that it's frozen right there? Does fresh frozen, or like a freeze dryer, does that count as fresh frozen? My answer at the time was I had always heard even if you had taken the plant down, let it do a slow dry before curing and using it, that still qualifies as fresh frozen.
Okay, this was addressed at 918 OG's Homemaker's Hash class. So yeah, fresh frozen is when you cut the plant. Well, you cut all your families off or anything that isn't consumed with trichome, And okay, so see that my brain locking up just shows you I learned so dang much. I don't know where to go sometimes now. But 918, he said he likes to what in the book I think is kind of called. Well, let's see. Well, no, it's not. He likes to. Sometimes, depending on the strain, of course, it's all strain dependent. But sometimes he likes some strains to dry for maybe 2 or 3 days Then he puts it into the freezer and treats it the same. And he says, often you get better taste, you get more return for sure. He says you always get more return, almost always. He said you'll get a bigger return whenever you cut the plant, let it dry for 2 to 3 days, then stick it in the freezer, and then treat it like fresh frozen.
You get a better return with the fresh frozen. Why is that? Is it thiols and cannabinoids like evaporating off?
But I think you're getting, here's what I'm learning a little bit, and based on page 7, which deals with all these trichome heads and the epidermal cells and the hypodermal cells, of the trichome stalk, it actually, there's more water getting out of the plant, and so that stalk gets a little more brittle. And so it breaks off easier, and you get a bigger release on your first wash, right? And you just get a good amount off of it. So a little bit of drying kind of dehydrates it and helps to make things brittle. But if you do it too much, it makes your leaves brittle too, right? And so you can't do it too much. Can't dry out too much.
Gotcha. I find that really interesting that you didn't like the taste of the fresh frozen hash next to your, home dried, because I feel the same way about flour. Exactly. I'd rather have a slow dried flour next to.
Yeah. This isn't any kind of braggart thing, and our processors in Oklahoma are fantastic guys. I can promise you that.
The rec market here is really known for fresh frozen. It's take it down, get it, in packages and get it on the market as soon as possible. I see a big degradation in flavor and quality overall.
The way I like to do it, I like to press my flour. I love pressed flour rosin because to me it has the most flavor and it has a more body high, more of a head high, body high, just a thicker high maybe is the good word for it. I like flour pressed and I like that flour rosin. But of course I love bubble hash rosin because it does have good taste, but the high is just really good, really quick, good high. You can tell you're like, whew, that's good stuff. But I love the taste of flour rosin. That's just me. That's me. The things that you tasted from me were all flour rosin. Just pressed flowers, wasn't bubble. Well, I think some of it was bubble hash, but a lot of my stuff is just flour rosin. That's what I do. I love it. So it's tasty.
I agree with you. I mean, I haven't had too much. Whenever we have bubble hash, we typically smoke it. And that's why I want to get a washer or something like that so I can try pressing the bubble hash. So most of what I've done so far has just been flour pressing, but I'm really, really enjoying it. And I agree with you. The flavor is there.
Good.
And every single one of those was delicious too, by the way. You took some of those genetics from those concentrates that you gave us, and you actually started working them into your own lines, correct?
That is correct. That blueberry muffin from the Humboldt Seed Company that I sent to you, that was the best flour rosin I ever had in my life. And it was just to press the flour. I mean, the flour smells so good anyway. Anybody who's grown that blueberry muffin knows what we're saying. It smells so good, and the taste lingers in your nose. Oh, it was the best. So yes, I took that blueberry muffin.
That was intense. That was good stuff.
And the one plant that I'm really going to focus on, because you can't I do all those crosses and I give away lots of seeds. So you can't really breed a bunch of strains. It's so much work. And me being a home grower, I can't have a whole bunch of plants going. So my focus is what's called the blueberry squealer. And that is the blueberry muffin. And it has been crossed with blueberry train mac from Black Label Organic. And that is Brandon Russ. He's just a fantastic grower, full of knowledge, and a super, super duper helpful. Yeah, great genetics, just fantastic. I'm sure a lot of you guys know him. So I crossed those two together and I got blueberry squealer. I have 9 blueberry squealers going right now. And we're trying to get those going. And again,
great genetics.
A pheno hunt is like those awesome guys who got the big buildings. We're going to do
awesome
100 plants. So we're going to pheno hunt. I'm pheno hunting 8 or 9. And that's how I can do it. And that's how a lot of home growers can do it too if you just get started. But I've got my blueberry squealers, and I'm going to try to see the pretty ladies and find that one good male if I get one. They haven't been sexed yet. I don't know what they are. But I want to get them to F2s, get them into F3s, start back crossing and all that good stuff. Because that taste, I've had the blueberry train mac, and it's just delicious. The blueberry muffin is delicious. So they got married and they had a baby, and I think this baby's going to be delicious too. Blueberry squealer.
Awesome. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, I want to hear more about that blueberry squealer. We're also going to talk more about your genetics, the lady breath lines that you're working with.
Yep.
All right. We will be right back with the Calyxx and Crew podcast with OKCalyxx.
G'day guys, Grow Green Daddy here with you. I just want to let you know quickly about Stonerdays Apparel. They've been a long-time affiliate of Doc's on the show, and they're extending that to Calyxx Crew podcast listeners by offering 20% off all regular price goods at checkout when using the code CALYXX. That is CALYX for 20% off at checkout. Now, if you haven't seen Stonerdays before, go check out their website, shop.stonerdays.com. They've got men and women's clothing, they've got tees, they've got tanks, they've got some hoodies. You want hats? They've got it. They've got beanies. You want socks? They've got them too. The only thing I haven't seen yet is jocks, because Grow Green Daddy needs a new thong for summer, and I reckon Stonerdays is going to be the one to hit it out of the park. So, if you're on their website, shop.stonerdays.com, throw code CALYXX in at checkout for 20% off, get yourself a few dad mats and coffee mugs. You never know when you need an emergency gift for somebody that rocks up that loves cannabis as much as you. That's the way to go. Get onto it. Now back to the boys, Doc and OKCalyxx, and see how they're doing.
All right, we are back with OKCalyxx of OKCalyxx Genetics. We talked about hash. Now I want to talk about the hash that you're making, the plants that made those hash. These are your own genetics that you're working with right now. You were talking about the blueberry muffin, the blueberry train mac. I want to hear a little bit more about that one and some of the other stuff that you're working with, the lady breath and whatnot. What made you want to work with them?
Let's see. So let me pull up my phone here. I got a note on here so I don't have to remember it. You know what I'm saying? The lineage of lady breath. That's why the lineage of the TK plants pulled those two things up. So I crossed the blueberry muffin. We were talking about the blueberry muffin from the Humboldt Seed Company and blueberry train mac from Black Label Organics here in Oklahoma. Crossed those up, and we've got blueberry squealers going. I don't know the sex yet, but I think it was 8. Or I have going. They're all about 2-3 inches tall. But we're doing a little phenome hunt with those and trying to get them to F2s and really see what we can get going. We're in the early stages of it, but that's where we are. I've sent out a lot of seeds. So you're referring to a couple of plants that I've done. When I cross, like when I find a male and I'm like, okay, this male is awesome, I'm going to cross it with everything I can, everything I'm growing. I'm just going to cross with every strain I'm growing. That's my approach, because that's how I like to do it. I don't always do that, but whenever I find, like, I found a killer queen male that was so pretty and so big, and it was just aggressive. I had a few people come out to my house and were actually just looking at it. I'm like, this is the best male I've ever grown. So anyway, that killer queen male was a male that I used to pollinate a herd of strains, and that it's been a couple years back. But I sent a lot of those out, and on my genetics page, OKCalyxx Genetics, you'll see pictures of some of those older crosses that are kind of starting to come back now. That's what's cool. I sent out seeds a year ago, and now you start to see some pictures of the results, and it's fun. And that's one of the problems breeding. You have to wait so long.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of time. But that killer queen was a beautiful male, and I just crossed a lot of things up. And I sent out a lot of things, a lot of strains to people, and it's been fun. It's been rewarding also, because I've got to know so many people on Instagram, and I'm talking Oklahoma folks where I've met them. I've gone to their house, or we've met someplace and we smoked just to talk and meet each other, because we have so much, this one thing in common. We love cannabis, and we can just talk and talk and talk. But it's been fun for me to send all these strains out and see some fun things come back.
Yeah, you're doing those drops all the time.
Yeah, man, those drops. People love those drops.
That's so fun, dude. I wish I could do that around here. There's not enough growers. Most of my buddies that are in Washington are over on the West Coast. So it's like, fuck, am I going to make a 3-hour run and then drive around to places I don't know? Hope you guys get it. Come on. So no, I applaud the shit out of you for doing that.
It's the way it goes. Whenever you pollinate things, and like when I pollinate every plant I've got. But you're going to end up with thousands of seeds that you will never use. You know what I'm saying? Why not be a blessing to somebody and just send them some seeds? Heck, man, they might find a unicorn that they think is just fantastic. You know, that's what's so cool about our community. Also, kind of off topic, we can make our own medicine and send it through seed to people, and they can grow it themselves. I find that fascinating because I love nature. You know what I'm saying? It's just fascinating that we can do that, and I love it.
That's the most amazing way I've ever heard that put.
One plant that I really liked, and I took it to F2s right now, is what I call TKLB, and that's Triangle Kush crossed with Lady Breath. But Triangle Kush has a really long name, and it's called, the actual name that Brandon gave to it, Brandon Russ gave to it is Triangle Kush crossed with Triangle Kush crossed with Northern Lights 5 Haze crossed with Lime 1 BX, which is also known as Lime 1 Grape Soda, I think it is. Let me see what it was. Lime 1 Grape Soda Skunk. Yeah. It's a crazy long name, and it's too much to even try to comprehend while we're just talking. We can't see it in front of us very well. But it's a Triangle Kush, right? And it's got that lime grape cross in there. It has a little hint of lime to it. It's got that deep Kush.
So this TKLB, you were talking about the cross on that one. So it's not a TK, it's a TK hybrid. It's something else has been crossed with the TK.
Yeah, it's a triangle. Yeah, yeah. He drew out the lineage is the name, basically, if you know what I'm saying. Triangle Kush cross with Triangle Kush, Northern Lights 5 Haze crossed with Lime 1 BX.
Okay.
That's the plant. That's the lineage, and that's the name.
And then you cross that with the Lady Breath.
So I crossed that. Yeah, that was a female. That's from Black Label. That TK is from Black Label Organics here in Oklahoma. I took a Lady Breath, and I got this Lady Breath from my friend at El Dancarino here in town that I've met through Instagram. He had this Lady Breath. It's kind of a smaller plant, but it was the pollen sacs were purple and red, and it was just real enticing to the eye to me. It wasn't a big plant at all, but it was so pretty. The male, I hadn't seen a male like have a lot of color. You know, have you seen males with lots of colors? Because you deal with plants way more than me, I think, Doc.
I've found quite a few colorful males, but to be attractive to the eye like that, it's not very often. No, I think I had one in the Sinai recently that was very, very black by late bloom. And then the other one was the blueberry grapefruit by Relic Seeds. And that was the Goose Bay blueberry crossed into the grapefruit inbred line, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that was close to what it was. But that thing was awesome. And the male on that one threw out like these deep purple stems. And then the actual petals of the flower were more of like a lavender red purple. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah, they're not, I mean, you're going to get a lot of green and yellow ones just like the females, you know?
Yes, the Lady Breath male had real pretty color. Okay, and Lady Breath is from at Family Tree Seed. He seems to be a really nice guy. If you go look at his page, he is a real organic and just seems to be cool. I think he's got a YouTube page also. Anyway, the Lady Breath male was so pretty, and I liked the color of it. Crossed it with a TK that I had tried and I liked, and the Lady Breath. What appealed to me strain-wise with Lady Breath is the lineage. It's the Lady Breath lineage. The male was an orchard lady. I'll say it again. The male was an orchard lady, and orchard lady is Pam 1 crossed with citrus farmer. That Pam 1 is just gorgeous. And then that plant was used to cross a Mendo breath, which is OG Kush breath and Mendo Montage, I believe. That cross made lady breath. So that lineage was like, man, that just sounds awesome. Yes, I want this male plant. So I told him after I looked at it. So the cross is called TKLB, or the hybrid there of those two plants is called, or the cross is called TKLB. I have it in F2s right now. I'm getting pictures back from sending them the F1s out. And at Tim Wetzel, I believe, he's grown one of them, and it is just colorful as can be. And that was what I was wanting. It's so pretty.
That's awesome. So that male really projected that, huh?
Yes, and that pheno it did. The one he got, it was really cool. So that was, that's kind of hopeful. That's cool for me trying these things. I'm like, yeah, I wanted that color. So, and I've got other TKs coming back also, plants that haven't fully flowered yet, but we'll see some more pictures of it. And we'll see what's coming. So that was fun for me. Now, this TKLB, in F1s, I got a male, that I liked, but just a good looking male, had nice big fat fan leaves, just good looking stalk. Well, it wasn't a whole lot of color or anything like that. It was just the girth of the plant I liked. But I took that TKLB F1 male and I did my thing. I pollinated everything I had outside. So that included a nag champa from Turk Fiend, which is just wonderful hash rosin.
I've heard a lot of people talking about that one.
Oh, my goodness. So anyway, I've got, my earpiece about to go down, I think. Nag breath, that's what that is. Nag champa cross TKLB. You got nag breath. I have blueberry breath, which is blueberry muffin crossed with TKLB.
Woo! I want to try that one.
Yes, sir. It's coming. I've got those growing right now. F1's coming up. I got a couple growing, and I actually have a lot of people growing those. I'll say one thing about that plant. Here's how I messed up. Here's something I learned and became better after that plant. And this is why we talk. Make other people better. What I did was I took about a 25-gallon pot, and I got 2 blueberry muffin females going in that pot, and then I found the blueberry train mac male that I wanted, and I put it in that same pot. And they weren't all real big, but it was just something I was doing. It's something I was messing with and just having fun. And so they all got about, 2 feet tall in this big pot. But what I learned was this. I rushed it. I didn't let those plants veg. I didn't let my females veg long enough. I let them go. I let them get kind of big. And I was like, man, I want to flower them because I want to get these seeds going, and all this. And so I intentionally rushed it, but I didn't realize that there's a detriment to it. By not letting your females veg out and kind of mature a little bit, in veg even. And then let them flower for a week or two before you hit them with the pollen, Mine didn't veg real long, and they got hit with pollen on day 1. They put out a pistol because that male already had pollen just flying from it, right? And so that small I guess, maybe not totally mature veg plant, and then real early pollination, reading the books that I've been reading now, those are 2 things that I saw in books that they'll say, yeah, this might cause you a problem. You got to let these plants mature a little bit more in veg and in flower before, anything happens if you're going to breed. So don't rush it. You got to let them grow a little bit. Let them get into flower. Let more than one pistil show. You know what I'm saying? Let a good 3-week flower get on it before you put pollen on it. So that's something I
would agree with that. Yes.
This isn't my job, right? I have other businesses that I do as my income. This is passion and fun. My cannabis life is passion and fun.
That's the best way for it to be.
That's why I do it. So that's right. And so I'm just learning. I'm learning still. I don't know everything.
You don't need to know everything. But it's just like growing. You do not know unless you do it. Somebody can tell you this way, this way, this way all day. But until you try it in your own environment, you will not know for sure.
Exactly. That's right. And it goes the same with breeders and stuff. Like, I don't know every breeder, but I do know the ones that I'm working their stuff with, and I really want to know more the more I work with their stuff, It's like, and those are the only breeders I know. But there's so many more out there. So
yeah,
I don't act, and you don't either. We don't act like we know everything.
No.
And that's a good way to be in this world because there's too much. You need to specialize a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You need to shrink your focus down some and not try to think you can do everything because you can't. Focus on a few things and be great at them. That's what you want to do.
You never stop learning.
And then get other people's great stuff. Yes, never stop learning. Get great at what you do.
So you crossed it with the blueberry muffin. That's why I'm really, really interested in that blueberry bat. That sounds amazing.
Oh, yeah. So I took the TK LB, crossed it with the blueberry muffin. And that's called blueberry breath, of course, because of the lady breath. And because I can't think of any original names very well.
I never know.
But there's lots of those growing right now. And I hope we get a blueberry cushy thing happening. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I was hoping for.
Gassy blueberry. That'd be cool.
You crossed it with the Neg Champ. That sounds really good because I've been wanting to grow some of Terphene's gear.
Yes.
What did you cross it to anything else?
Yes, I did. I crossed it too. And I still have yet to hear how this name is pronounced. So let me spell it. Limecai.
CAI? Limesai?
Limecai?
Limesai?
Let's agree that it's Limecai.
It sounds like lime and acai. Limesai.
Yes, you are right because it's acai gelato crossed with key limeade.
Boom. Limesai.
That's what this is, and that's from at Umami Seed Co. That's who did the Limecai.
I've never heard that name.
Yeah, okay, and Tim Wetzel grew one of these Limecais out, and you got to go look at it. It's freaking frosty and just beautiful looking. It's OKCalyxx Genetics. I posted it, but I crossed Limecai with TKLB, and that's lime breath, of course.
Okay.
So pictures have come back on that one, and it's a nice one, lime breath.
That does sound good. Didn't you do a G13 cross?
I did a G13. I crossed a G13 Genius from Brothers Grimm with TKLB.
Oh, you gave us that G13. That was excellent, dude.
Oh, yeah, that G13 Fire Rosin was so good.
That was good.
Yeah, I loved that one.
That was one of my favorites, and it just hit you right in the forehead.
I loved it. I spent a year growing all Brothers Grimm genetics, and man, it was a really good time. That is good genetics. I enjoyed it.
I will never forget that. If forever you were doing Brothers Grimm, I was like, he feels about Brothers Grimm the way I feel about dynasties.
It was, dude. I was like, keep this going.
Which is excellent because, dude, that Grimm glue. Did you ever cross anything to that Grimm glue?
No, never did a Grimm glue. You know why?
That was a good one, too.
That Grimm glue was one of the most beautiful plants that I had grown. I took a picture of it on OKCalyxx page, and it's a beautiful dark red color. But the thing about the Grimm glues that I grew, the buds are just too small. You know what I'm saying? There are lots of them, but they, if you got a kind of a small bud on the plant, it's going to dry up to a real small bud. So when I was, doing a lot of the commercial growing, that just wasn't going to fly. So it got cut.
Right. Oh, man, that was a great flavored one. And the consistency of that rosin, too. That was like butter.
Butter. It was straight butter. And it came out of the rosin bag. And just when it hit cooler air, it immediately went to that buttery look. Oh, it was good stuff.
Nice. Weren't you working a Granddaddy Purple there for a while?
Yes. Okay, so I had a Granddaddy Purple. I lost this Granddaddy Purple to fungus. I lost about 6/10 one time to some stinking fungus that got a hold of everything. And once I saw it, I was like, guys, we gotta take it out. So we wiped out all our tents and started over. But this Granddaddy Purple was at the grow when I started doing some commercial growing. The grow I went to had this Granddaddy Purple, and it was in flower, and it was so pink and purple. And I just like, that is beautiful. Again, when I see something, I love beauty. I'm attracted to beautiful things. Yes, I love my plants to have flowers in them. I love the crop cover. I love the way compost looks when it's through. But I love that. And this GDP was so pretty. There's some guys that are growing GDP Killer Queen cross right now. One of, let's see, his name is Grow Something with Trey, I believe. He's in Sepulpa here in Oklahoma, which is pretty close to me, about 30 minutes away from me. He grew a GDP Killer Queen that came back, just had a nice kind of purpley look to it. And it was like, oh, yes, that was that GDP, mama. Oh, look how pretty it is. You know, it was fun to see it again because I lost it.
Nice.
But I do still have some, I have a few crosses of GDP and something. You know what I'm saying? GDP Killer Queen, GDP Lady Breath, I think I have still. So, yeah.
Nice.
It's still alive.
With that Killer Queen, why does that sound familiar?
Killer Queen is Brothers Grimm. Killer Queen is the male I used.
Oh, yes. That was during your Brothers Grimm run.
Yep.
And I believe you did the Durban tie too, didn't you?
That's correct. I did a Durban breath. So I crossed a Durban tie with TKLB. And I don't have many seeds of Durban breath, but I did show my outside Durban breath at OKCalyxx Genetics, and it's a looker. Man, I had some outside plants this year that looked like inside plants. They were just gorgeous.
Nice, dude. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people growing out your genetics, and you've been sharing it on your story, and those plants look amazing. So would it be fair to say that from your standpoint, one of the things that you're breeding for is bag appeal and color?
Well, you know that, yes. Now here, let me qualify all this. As I've done breeding projects, it's been for different reasons, if you know what I'm saying. And that GDP was definitely because I was like, I want that purple. I don't care I don't even know how good it tastes or not. I just want to see if I can get color in another flower, you know, in its progeny. And then with Lady Breath, yes, it was pretty, but it was the Triangle Kush, and it was the lineage of Lady Breath with that Pam 1 and Citrus Farmer. That was definitely the draw that sealed it. But yeah, I'm a beauty slut. Like I said, if it's pretty, I'm like, oh man, I want to see it again. You know what I'm saying? I just want that beauty. But of course, I got to have that taste.
It all has its place.
You're right.
So before we get going, I want to ask you, Grow Green Daddy posed this question. I haven't used it for a while. I need to use it again. He always wants to ask you guys, which one of your creations do you think represents OKCalyxx Genetics the best? Like, if there's one that somebody's going to pick out and you're like, this is the one that I want to represent what I'm doing here.
Oh, what a question. I have to pick one.
You can pick 3.
That's a 3.
Max. Don't fuck around on me.
Only 3? No, I'm joking. Isn't that an interesting question? And I don't know if I've ever bred with that mentality in mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if I ever said, I want something to represent what I like to smoke, maybe. You know what I'm saying? But I think what will represent me the most right now is my favorite that I have yet to flower, and that's Blueberry Squealer. I love blueberry. I fell in love with blueberry muffin the first time I tried it, and I'm trying to make something great out of it right now. You know what I'm saying? If I can improve on it, who knows? But I'm starting with something that I love, and I'll grow it again. I bought a pack of them a couple months ago at Cannabis here in Oklahoma. I bought a pack of reg blueberry muffin seeds just because I'm like, I just love it.
Fuck yeah.
And so, yes, that one has passion in it for me. Blueberry Squealer. It's a meaningful cross. Like, I'm really meaning to try to get this flavor out. That made me send you some, you know? It was that dang good.
Yeah. Appreciate it, brother. So you're really into blueberry. Not long ago, you played Do or Dab.
Yes.
On our show on Calyxx and Crew TV. And you won some of those seeds from Romulan Jake.
Yes. At
Romulan Genetics. Did you have plans with those?
Oh, man, did I? The plans are going right now. I popped 2 seeds about 2 months ago, both of them male. I grew them out a little bit, and and they look totally different. And actually, I've been talking with Jake. I was sending pictures of the 2 different looks. One look had a thick inside, you know, big, fat, thick fan leaves kind of staying close to the branch and packing in nodes. And then the other male, the fan leaves, the stem was noticeably longer, so much so that it seemed to open up the middle. it seemed to be thin in the middle. And so anyhow, I culled the thin looking one, and I kept that fat, mean looking sucker. And so I've got one Romulan male that I know for sure is a male right now. And I also have 2 new Romulan blueberries that I popped about 2 weeks ago, and they're about an inch tall right now, and they're putting off. I think they've gone through they're probably in the 3rd set of leaves, cotyledon, leaf, and leaf right now.
Nice. I think that's going to be an excellent one.
So yes, oh my Lord, have you seen it? He put, what was cool about it, if people don't know, is
his pictures are amazing.
Yeah. What people don't know is I got these, and I had the male already picked out that I wanted before he even released them to the public. And that's because the man OKCalyxx and Romulan Genetics giving them to me, man. That was a cool feeling. When he released it, when Romulan released it that day, I took that snapshot and put my male picture right there with it, and I was like, here it is. It's already growing. So yes, I have high hopes for Romulan blueberry. And I can't wait to just get it in the mix. And here's my goal. Here's the goal that I told a couple of testers that I work with is I want to get one blueberry strain that has 4 blueberry crosses in it, and that's probably going to be blueberry muffin, blueberry train mac, Romulan blueberry, and possibly blueberry cupcake from Humboldt that I've got going, and then I've got another blueberry coming, and it's called African Blueberry Pheno number 3, and it's from Black Box Genetics.
You told me about that.
Black Box Genetics, and so it's a blueberry that has a sativa landrace crossed in it. So it's just a different, maybe high or a feel. Blueberry is kind of on that indica side often, so this is just a little different thing. But again, 4 blueberry crosses is my own personal thing that I just kind of want to have a blueberry strain that I made that. From 4 different blueberry crosses. And if that don't have a blueberry terp to it, I don't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So to answer your question, blueberry squealer, that one's going to define me right now.
Oh, man. Nice. I appreciate that. I haven't, blueberry was never one of my biggest ones. I do like the flavor, but the high didn't typically work for me. You've got to try out those blueberry grapefruit from Relic that I was talking about. That had amazing blueberry. The Blue Magoo was another one that was really, really good blueberry.
Yes, I've heard you talk about that so many times.
I still have it.
I hear it, when you go live and stuff, you talk about Blue Magoo a lot, and I want that. Like, you like it a lot.
Yeah, that's my baby. That is my baby for sure. We took so long hunting her. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll get some love, brother.
Awesome. That's cool.
All right. I am glad that you came on and shared so much information with us about making hash from the Pelle Polare book. That was awesome. The amount of information that you went on that. I learned a lot. I hope these guys learn a lot. Your genetics, man, I've been noticing them, and I'm pretty sure other people are too. And they are looking beautiful. So keep up what you're doing. You've got good intentions in this, and we back you 100%. You're a great guy. And I want to thank you again for coming on and sharing this information with us.
Man, I appreciate it. I had such a fun time, and I'd love to do it again. It was such a joy talking to you. Tell your wife thank you again, because I know it's a big deal watching those dang poor kids.
Amen. They are a handful. And you as well, with all of yours, with your entire tribe.
Almighty 5.
We'll see you soon on another episode of Do or Dab on Calyxx and Crew TV, correct?
Correct.
And you're going to be giving out some of your genetics? I know the guys are stoked about that, man.
You better believe it. I'm going to throw out those blueberry breaths and the blueberry squealers. And listen, I have not given blueberry squealers, but I sent some to Brandon Russ because just as a, hey, thank you. I did this with your work, and I'm trying to say thanks, and I sent it to 3 testers, I believe. So I've held it close to me because it's the one I like, it's the one I kind of want to try to go with.
Wow. Exclusive. Hell yeah, man. Appreciate that. And I appreciate your intent to this and what you do for the cannabis community. Making drops all the time. You're just an all around fucking respectful guy.
I appreciate it.
You're doing it right. And we appreciate you.
Very cool.
All right, man. We will talk to you later.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you. See ya.
What's up, everybody? OKCalyxx here. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode as much as I did. I hope you learned and took away from it as much as I did. So many great tips in there on extracting via ice water your hash. Thank you, OKCalyxx, for coming on and sharing so much great information, reviewing the Pelle Polare's new book on ice water hash extraction. Thank you, OKCalyxx, for coming on and telling us about your genetics as well. That blueberry breath sounds amazing. The TK Lady Breath crosses, pretty fucking outstanding stuff. Before we get going, though, I want to make you guys aware, one of our family members, one of our affiliates from Nextlight LED, JD Nextlight, he was recently diagnosed with leukemia and is undergoing chemotherapy, and it would really, really help. The guys have started a GoFundMe to help his family in this time of need. So go check it out. You can find it on Professor P's Instagram page. That is Professor P420 on Instagram. You can go check him out. There's a link in his bio that leads to the GoFundMe for JD over there. If you donate, take a screenshot of it, send it to me. I'll make sure you are put in a drawing for some seeds from my vault. So go ahead, go over there, donate if you can. If you can't, send JD a word of love for me. It's much appreciated, and I will see you guys on the next podcast with none other than the Duke Diamond. That's right, Duke Diamond's back, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, this is OKCalyxx saying good night and grow right.